All right, everybody, welcome to Clearwater Jazz Holiday's Young Lions Jazz Master Virtual Sessions here with Kyle Schroeder. Kyle grew up around the Clearwater Jazz Holiday family, and we are so happy to have him with us. His topic is called Aiming for a University Jazz Program, Tips from a College Student, Things to Consider and What to Expect. And I love that. If you notice, everybody's muted right now for the courtesy of the session. But if you have questions, we'll get those questions to Kyle. Use the chat feature, use the raise your hand feature, and we'll get those to him. If you have topics or feedback for us, send it to info@clearwaterjazz.com. Check out our education and outreach page. It has all these sessions, how to join the sessions, interesting links, recommended listening, and a lot of great resources. And there's a new studio page that archives everything, so check it all out. So Kyle grew up around our extended community. I think Kyle Kyle found a calling for music really early on. I mean, this dude was passing out business cards when he was like 9 years old, and I've just been so impressed with Kyle. And he's performed. We've worked really hard to create performance opportunities for young musicians like Kyle as they've grown and matured. And Kyle's had some awesome experiences performing not only at the Clearwater Jazz Holiday Music Festival, but a lot of our events throughout the year. He's played with some amazing people, and he gigs a lot in the Tampa Bay area, and has gotten some really great experiences there. He's also a student now at the Frost School of Music at the University of Miami, and the thinking here was that if we could have Kyle come on the Young Lions virtual sessions and talk about his experiences, we thought that there was some gems that he could share with students who desire to pursue a career in music and want to go further with their education, and talk about college and how to prepare for it. So Kyle, welcome to Clearwater Jazz's Young Lions Jazz Master Virtual Sessions. I'm going to turn it over to you, buddy.
Hey, Steve, thank you so much for having me. You and Clearwater Jazz Holiday have been such an important part of my life and my start. I do say the middle of October is probably one of my favorite times of the whole year, not because the weather is perfect, but because of the holiday, so because of the festival. I always love being around the festival. I always, after the 4 days or 3 days that I'm there, I always come out of it way more inspired than I was to just keep moving forward and keep doing something and keep searching for something. So thank you so much, Steve. As he said, today we'll be kind of talking about the college application process, as well as what it's like to study jazz and music in college. The first half of this stuff is going to be a little bit of logistics. So try not to get too bored, because we'll get into the music stuff fairly quickly. But anyways, for all you guys out there, what's up, Ben? Good to see you. Lee, Derek, what's up, man? Good to see you, bro. It's great to see you guys, and whoever else hears this in the future, I just want them to come out with maybe a little bit of new knowledge, just kind of my experience and some of my tidbits of advice that I've kind of developed throughout the last 3-4 years of college. So to start off, I would like to talk a little bit about the college application process. Everybody is kind of on a different page with this. I remember me in high school, I tried to be as on top of it as possible. But there are people who maybe don't have good guidance counselors at their school, or don't have people that are very knowledgeable about this topic at their disposal. So I'm going to kind of go through a couple of these little basic things. So as a musician, we're in high school, we're able to play in our bands at our schools. We're able to play in town, if you're able to go out to local gigs or jam sessions in high school, totally recommend it, to talk to people. And then so when it come time to make that next step, to really make that transition into college education and a more of a focused study of a topic, it's definitely, you definitely have a lot of inward thinking, inward looking to do, to decide if college and music college is right for you. So, the first step to kind of getting into the college thing is figuring out what college is right for you and applying to that large college, that school. If you're interested in, if you're in Florida, for example, we got great schools. We got USF, we got UNF, we got FSU, we got Miami, where I went. We have all those great options, plus many more that are doing great things. And so the first step is kind of look around, shop around, go on the website, see what they offer as far as a jazz degree or music degree. Most colleges will have what they call a bulletin, which is basically a list of every single class you're going to need to take to get your degree. And so that's a really good thing to look at if you're interested in looking for colleges, because some colleges, make you take more gen ed, some make you take more music theory, some make you take classical music theory, classical piano, all that stuff. That way you kind of get a good idea of kind of like what you want, and what they're offering. So I would say the first step is to find out what you're looking for. I would say narrow it down to 3 to 5 colleges that you really like, that you're really interested in going to, and you might have the ability to go to. I definitely recommend, talking with your parent or guardian about, location and what's possible as far as that. But so apply to the college of your choice. This is the broad college. This is the USF. Apply to USF. Apply to Miami. Apply to FGCU. Apply to UNF. So that's the first step. Now, the second step, us being musicians, is we also have to do an application for, if it's a normal state school, the College of Music. If you're applying for a conservatory like New England Conservatory, Berkeley College of Music, any of these other places, they are specifically music, and they usually only require one application, because that's what they are doing. But if you want to go to a state school or a private school like University of Miami, you got to apply to the University of Miami, and you got to apply to the music school, which in my case, is the Frost School of Music. So those 2 applications need to be done. The next thing that I would say is get your kind of financial aid applications in order. This is going to be a big factor in determining where you can go, where you want to go. It will help narrow down the choices for you. But you want to set yourself up for success by not missing these applications. So the first one, it's pretty popular. Basically, almost every state university, state school requires this, and it's called the FAFSA. It's the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. Yeah, Derek, I know you know about it. And so basically, with this application, you're going to be using it's a little tedious. It takes about an hour to 2 hours. I would recommend, having a parent or guardian or family member sit down with you if possible, and kind of go through this. And what you're going to need with this is you're going to need the last 2 years of your taxes, of your family's taxes. So make sure you have those on hand, because you're going to need to do a little bit of calculation and looking at numbers. So once you do the FAFSA, which I think it opens in January, usually for the fall of that year. So make sure you hop on early. And once it opens up for this next school year, make sure you hop on as early as possible. And so what you're going to do with the FAFSA is you need to send it to those 3 to 5 schools you're looking at. So there's a drop down bar or page on the application that says, what schools do you want to send this to? And so throw in your 5 schools in there that you want to do, and should be no problem. It'll get all this information to them, because if they don't get it, it can be a headache. It can take time to get it to them, sometimes 7 days, 3 to 5 days. When you're in a rush, when you're trying to make a decision, it's not fun waiting on all this stuff. So recommend getting that done right out of the gate. The next one I want to talk about is the profile application. This application is put on by the College Board, and it's so you can find it. If you want to find it, it's at cssprofile.collegeboard.org. Now, most like private schools like University of Miami or a lot of these conservatories, Berkeley, New England, NYU, I don't know about NYU, but a lot of those ones up in New York, this is their go-to financial aid application, very similar to the FAFSA. So kind of same situation. You're going to be putting in basically the same information. Kind of stinks is you got to do it twice. And it's going to be the same thing where every school has a code. You search for the school and it shoots it to them, and it takes a couple of days to process, and then they have it for the coming year. So I would definitely recommend kind of getting that stuff out of the way, because it's going to make a difference. It could positively or negatively impact your place to go to college. So I definitely would recommend that. Next, once you apply for the music school, like we talked about earlier, there's usually like a pre-screening audition or something where you got to send videos of you playing, stuff like that. Like being jazz players, it's usually playing a couple tunes, playing a couple courses of soloing, and playing the melody out. I would like to talk about, maybe just for a second, like recording these pre-screening videos. I know right now it's a little bit tough with the whole lockdown thing, to get together with people. But if you're able to, I did my pre-screening videos for college actually with La Lucha, who Lee and Steve, everybody knows them, Mark and John and Alejandro, and I paid them to play my videos with me. And I had a great time, and they were super professional about it. We got great audio. We got really good video. And so if you're going to do something like that where you get a band, which I would recommend it, because teachers love, like, when you're with a live band, they would rather hear that over playing to the Learn Jazz Standards backing track on YouTube. But if you have to right now, it's totally understandable. Everybody understands what's going on in the world, and I'm sure they're going to be very accepting and not worried about that. But yeah, I would definitely, for these pre-screenings, keep it short. Play the melody, play a solo on these jazz tunes, and pick some contrasting things. Usually the application or the pre-screening requirements have it pretty laid out to where it's hard to mess up. So as long as you follow the form of that, you should be rocking and rolling. And then, so after that, after you pass the pre-screening thing, you did the application to the College of Music. The next step is usually scheduling the audition and stuff like that. So let's talk about what that will entail. I have a couple different experiences. I auditioned at what did I do? I did FSU, I did USF, I did Berkeley, and I did Miami, and they all were a little bit different. They are a little bit different about how they kind of did everything. Sometimes the requirements were a little bit different. So I definitely would get all the requirements for the audition, put them on a, write them down, print them out, and just understand what's different about each one I'm doing, and see not only what's different, but what you can overlap. Because if you can spend time practicing, say Billy's Bounce or a tune like that, if you can spend time practicing that and it can work for all five to some degree, then you can spend all your time practicing that, playing over the tune, playing over the blues, working out different ideas, and spend all that time. And I think being able to find the differences and what overlaps with your college auditions is going to be very helpful. And it also, I feel like it helps your confidence. You're like, oh, I've been playing this song forever. Like, I got this, So at it was really cool because there was you did like an audition with your private teacher, as well as you had all the students play in a group together, and the teachers would kind of watch and see, what the dynamics are like, what the players are like playing with others, which both are extremely important. One of the things that I would recommend that a lot of people are doing that will really help is reaching out to the professor that you would study with at that college and develop a relationship with them prior to your audition, whether it's just talking to them, asking them questions, and they're usually, most of the time, they are totally down to answer any questions you have. They're totally down to meet you. They want the best experience for them as a teacher and for their school as a whole, to where they will put in effort to get to know you, which is really good. I think it's very important. So if you take a private lesson with them, whether it's on Zoom, Skype, whether you meet them in person, all this stuff is going to help your chances on getting to where you want and possibly getting the most scholarship or whatever they have to offer for you. As far as the audition day goes, there's usually like a bunch of jazz tunes you have to play, in which I compiled a list. I guess, hey, Steve, is it possible to do a screen share? Is that possible?
Sure. Yeah, sure. I've just
Oh,
set
here we go.
a setting. You should be able to put it up now. I also sent the link out so people can see it on our website and also shared
Great.
your Spotify playlist, but you should be able to put it up on your screen.
Great. Here we go. All right. Can you guys see that?
Looks good.
All right. So this is just a rough little tune list. I know people know different tunes and all that, but this is just something that I kind of put together that are like the basic songs to know, kind of when going in to play. Most colleges, especially jazz programs, will want you to bring a tune list of the songs you know, and make sure you really know them. That's why it's better to have a smaller list of tunes that you know like the back of your hand than to have a larger list of tunes that you can get through from time to time. So I would recommend 15 to 20 songs, or 15 to 25 songs that you've practiced, that you've listened to different versions, that you know in the regular keys and maybe even a couple other keys. And so Steve has compiled a list of these on Spotify. If you guys are interested, you can go to the Clearwater Jazz Holiday Education and Outreach page and look at my session, and it has the Spotify link right there for some versions of these songs right here. And the first one, Autumn Leaves, it basically, what you can get out of this is, like, in a jazz term, is learning how to play lots of cool 2-5-1s, learning how normal harmonic progressions kind of flow. That's very important. Billy's Bounce, the blues, Blue Bossa, the blues, but a little bit different. All these songs have very specific things about them that are very unique. That's why I chose this list. Not only because they're some of the most popular ones that you can play and practice with your friends beforehand, but they also have harmonic devices, rhythmic devices, different keys. It's very important to have that going on, have like diversity, have different keys, different rhythms, different types of songs um, on your repertoire. So that's kind of all I wanted to say about that one. So develop a repertoire, develop a tune list, and hand it to your teacher when you go in. So let's see. All right, here we go. We're back. All right. So the next kind of thing I wanted to talk about the audition is some tips that I noticed that I've from talking to teachers throughout the years is focus on your sound and your intonation and your groove as much or more than what you're playing slash, like your licks, that kind of thing. I think teachers are able to pick up, especially because some of these teachers, they've been doing it for so long that they already know what's going to happen kind of with you in terms of how your development is. They can know by your personality that you're interested. They know by your sound that what your kind of rough concept is. It might not be developed or finalized or something just coming out of high school. I mean, I know mine wasn't at all. But I had a thing that I liked and that I was looking to get better at. And I remember my teacher, he gave me a shot because my friend Phil Doyle, who's a great saxophone player, probably one of the best that I've ever heard in my life, who lived in Miami for many years, New York. He just moved to Iceland about a year ago. He was in the audition and he like nudged my teacher and he was like, "Hey Gary, you gotta let this guy in." And it's just not because of what I played. I didn't play anything like crazy, but I feel like I just played soulfully. I played in time. I've tried to play in tune with a good sound. I think having that is one of the most important things in an audition because, like I said, the teachers have been doing it for so long. They kind of know how you're going to develop and they can see the potential in you when you come in the door. So with that being said, make sure you look nice. Make sure you wear something that represents your personality as best as you can. Make sure that you present yourself in the best way that you can because the teachers will pick up on that. They really will. And I remember like even for me, like we have in college, we have these things called juries, which are they're every semester you kind of at Miami at least you add tunes to your tune list. You add 10. And you get quizzed on them kind of. And you also have to play flute. You also have to play like transcriptions and classical stuff too. Stuff that just helps you be a well-rounded player. And I remember that by my third year or so, or maybe even second year, some of the people in my class would show up to these juries like in like sweatpants and like a cut off tank top, like they're playing basketball or something. And then I always would come with a suit on or at least a jacket and a really nice shirt because even though I developed a great relationship with my teacher and I've known them and we've done lessons and all that, like they definitely, I think they appreciate the respect. They know you're serious when you walk in the door. I think that's a very important thing that you guys should do, especially when you're first meeting them in real life. It will make a difference. It will definitely make a difference. All right. So after that, audition, I know it's probably stressful. I remember mine was, I was very nervous. I was, because I really wanted to go to Miami because of how the saxophone lineage. Ed Kaye, Rick Margitza, Andy Snitzer. Some of my best and favorite sax players went there, and like I just wanted to be part of it. And so hopefully one day I I'll be able to shine some more light on the program and tell everybody I went there and spread the culture that we have there, which is cool. Um, but yeah, so once that's done, once your auditioning's done, um, and you've auditioned at these colleges, you gotta make a decision. The window to make a decision is probably it's roughly 2 weeks to a month to where you have to really figure out where you want to go. By the time all the colleges get back to you about the auditions and what they'll do is they'll send you a financial aid package, which will include any financial aid you need possibly through your applications with the FAFSA in the profile, like we talked about earlier, as well as any scholarship that you got for music, and teachers will decide that during the audition. Um, so luckily, Miami is a really cool place to where the dean and other people are able to get donors to donate to the program. And so they are able to give out a decent amount of scholarships, which is really cool. And there are some other schools like that. So piece of advice I would have for that is don't, just because a school is expensive, don't not apply. Still apply for it. Still do that little application. It might take you an hour or two and practice the audition materials. And just because it's expensive, definitely apply, because you never know what you're going to get. When I was at Miami, before I was going to go to Miami, it was a day before the college decision day. And I paid my deposit for the dorms at FSU. I was headed to FSU. I had my roommate. I was ready. And then I got an extra couple $1,000s from Miami. And I was able to make the switch. And I'm so happy I did that, because that Miami is just the best place for me personally. It was a great time. And that's the other thing, like, make sure you at every audition also feel the room, feel the vibe of the professors, feel the vibe of kind of the students who are there. Sometimes you're able to talk to them because like they're helping with the audition day and everything. So talk to them, pick their brain, just be like, hey, what do you like about this school? Or, what's the worst thing about the school that you know? What's the weak thing here? Ask them these questions, because they're probably, if you're asking them honestly, they're going to answer you honestly, which is really good. So once you find that right fit for you, judge your decision on that. That's the first thing. Where you want to go, what's the fit for you? The next thing is the affordability. What money do you have set aside for college? How many student loans you need to take out? How much, would that impact, your time coming out of college? Because if you have too much loans, it can really bog you down from launching a successful music career. So if you can keep that at a minimum, that's definitely a possibility, something I would recommend, because when you get out of college, like, you want to start working, you want to start playing, you really want to start doing it and everything. And if you have thousands of dollars, behind your back at all times trying to pay off, it can really kind of make it hard. But definitely that's a factor. So that's the second factor, affordability. What can you afford? If you had to take some loans out, how much would that cost you? I would recommend doing the math with that. The third one is like the location, like just the location. Are you going to be going to the school like that's in your town, like USF or SPC? Are you able to retain some of the contacts you've already built in your town by staying there for a little bit? Both of those, or going far, like both of those are viable options. Some people just want to go to a whole different place, which is cool too. But then you have to factor in kind of what's going to cost you if you're going to get an apartment or a dorm, or what are you going to do for travel, stuff like that. So I remember when I was kind of doing stuff, I would like add up so many things. I had like so many scrap pieces of paper of like, okay, it would cost uh $700 a month for an apartment, blah blah blah. 12 months, water, rent, like utilities, uh, cost like $3 of gas to get to school, blah blah blah. I would just like be writing all this stuff down and adding it up just to kind of see what it would be like. Um, and also another note about location. If you go to, I personally really enjoyed going to a school in a larger metropolitan area than I grew up in. Um, for a couple reasons. The first one is like I like new places. I like big cities for the most part. Um, Not all big cities, but I like the city vibe. So I being in Miami was great because there was a music scene that I didn't know about. I had no idea what it was like. I knew it was big. I knew there were gigs. Um, so that was really cool. And as I got into my third and fourth year of college, I made contacts throughout the area, and before you know it, I was playing like with like wedding bands and corporate bands every single weekend, like two or 3 days, which is good because that's helping me pay all the daily stuff in college off. Um, it's helping me pay for the books. It's helping me pay for the food, all this stuff. So I personally don't think I would have had that same experience if I went to like a college that's a little bit in a smaller city like Tallahassee or something. Personally, for me, um, because I definitely like the pop music thing, being able to perform with like live bands and stuff like that on the weekends is I like it. I'm not gonna do it forever, but I really enjoy doing it because I get to learn pop songs. I get to like have experience seeing what works or not saxophone wise, like, you know, equipment and stuff like that. Derek knows what I'm talking about. Mouthpieces, all that stuff. What works good in the situation. Um, all that stuff is super cool to find what works for you. And it impacts your sound. It definitely does. If you look back to Miami saxophone players from the 1980s, um, they were playing with like Gloria Estefan and like all these bands like in Coconut Grove and like all these little club areas. They were playing like these gigs and like they needed to be heard. So they had some loud sounds, they had some bright sounds um coming out of college, which I feel like it was part of their location. It was part of where they were. It definitely impacted the way they play. Um, so yeah, lastly, I would like to talk about like what was it like? What was college like? What is it like on the daily? It's definitely fun, um, because you get to meet so many new people that come from different places that have different experiences than you. And I think for me, coming out of like the suburbs north of Tampa, north of Clearwater area, it was great. It was great to see other people's upbringings and to see where they came from, to learn where they came from, to learn their values, to learn, um, the music in their own town. It was like really cool to get that experience. It definitely helped me look more outward, and kind of feel like being able to relate to other people. It was really good. So basically, um, yeah, college can shape you as an artist. The professors, teachers, and students, actually sometimes more the students, influence you more. because you're seeing them on the daily. You're jamming with them. I remember at school I used to just like play duo with like drummers all the time. Something about drummers, like all my friends are drummers. I don't know if that's a bad thing or what, but they seem to be pretty cool people. Um, so I tend to hang out with the drummers. I tend to like to play with them a lot. Um, and I like their energy. I like drummers that can take things somewhere, that can really try stuff. One of my favorite drummers, if you guys don't know about him, is a guy named Gary Novak. He's out in LA, and he just look him up online. His records are he's been a sideman for everybody, and he is just so awesome. I hope to play with him one day. Um, so I got the drummer friends. They definitely have shaped me as a player, playing with them so much, and and just bouncing ideas off of them. When I would write songs or produce stuff, I would first go to my drummer friends and be like, "Yo, how does this feel?" Because most drummers are intuitive. As much as you think they're technologically like super savvy, they are, but they're very like, "Oh, what feels natural?" So I'd bring it to my friends, um, and make sure that when you're in college, you are searching for your own path and kind of following your heart the whole time you're there. Um, it's definitely important to be part of a community while you're in college, but um, don't let it like take you away from yourself. Like if you have a vision of what you want to do, if you're super confident in what you want to do, don't let other people say like don't let other people vibe you or like be like, oh yeah, he's not real, he's not serious, blah blah blah. Be serious about what you're doing, no matter what it is, and just be serious about it. And I think people will pick up on that. People will pick up on your vibe and the fact that you are a serious player. You might not be doing what they think is the right thing to do, or the right kind of music to play or the right approach to take. But if you're serious about it and you feel in your heart it's the way to go, don't let anybody stray you from that. Don't don't impress people just to impress them. I know that's something that a lot of like students kind of get caught up in within the first year or two, is like they just want to be like known as like the guy around. But I've seen it kind of flip to where like if they're cocky coming in and they're um you know super confident, sometimes it actually flips around for them. The third and fourth year they're like you never see them, because everybody kind of finds the people who are nice and usually kind of sticks with them. Definitely be a nice person and like just be open to everything when you're there, as far as music and stuff like that. Um, at Miami and other schools, you get to play in big bands and combos, which is super good because you're able to hone in your skills of playing with a section, which is very important, as well as your skills as like an improviser, playing solos or writing arrangements for small groups is like super important, I feel. Um, and so those skills are definitely going to get better in college because you're doing these things on the daily. Like I remember getting up, I used to get up at like 7 a.m. every day and go practice and then go eat food. And then I would go play this and then I would go play that. Then I go over here, play this thing. Then I do the big band. Then somebody wants to record something, so I'll play that. So it's very involved. So you have to be ready to just give out what you have, and try not to, like, when you're in very high pressure situations, try not to like always judge yourself like, oh, that was a bad solo, that was bad. Definitely make note in your mind of like what you could work on, what you didn't feel comfortable with, and then when you get that practice room time, go back there and just kind of hash it out and work on it. um but what else do I got here? Oh, private lessons are really great. um, developing that relationship with your teacher is super cool. And some schools give you the option to study with like somebody on a different instrument, which is if you have a good grasp of your main instrument, it can be a really helpful tool because I got to study with like a trumpet player, John DeVersa, who's a really great trumpet player. I got to study with him, and it was a whole different thing than I was used to, completely different. Um, I definitely took what I could out of that and was able to put that kind of into my repertoire, into my system, which is super cool because it breaks you out of the shell of like your instrument. Um, I feel like some of the best people on saxophone or something, they like to transcribe like guitar players or trumpet players, that kind of thing. The more you're kind of reaching out to like different modes or different types or different instruments in jazz, the more your sound is going to be different than the sax player sitting next to you in the big band, which I think that's important. We all need to be different. We all need to be individuals, and all need to have our like own concept in what we're interested in. And yeah, lastly, I would just like to talk about like the expectation in college. I mean, you're going to be expected to do these things, to play the big band, to play in tune, to play in the combo, and play good solos. And so when you have that practice time, you really got to use it effectively to really live up to that expectation. Because every time you're playing, whether you think it or not, people are mentally making notes, whether they even know it or not, about what you're doing as a player and what kind of player you are. So the more you can be on top of the basic stuff of, being prepared as far as like learning songs, learning your parts, blah, 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 the artistic creativity can just soar if you have all that stuff in the bag. So definitely while you're in college, I would say live up to that expectation because now we don't have anything right now with the coronavirus when we're at home. Um, I miss the expectation. I miss the daily, oh, you need to do these 5 things and play them really well today. Now I still have some of that, and I'm still making like things up for myself to do. But because of that, I need to have that expectation and definitely live up to it. So yeah, well, that's basically all I got.
That's
If
a
you
that's
got,
a that's a
yeah,
lot, man. Kyle, that was awesome. One thing that I was thinking about as you grew up around our extended family and our community is that you were always open to new experiences. You brought your saxophone everywhere you went, but
yeah,
when you came to our events, you got to a point where you were so eager and open to play with anybody and anywhere. It didn't matter what it was. If it was a high note society social, if it was an after party or a jam session or going somewhere. And I know that was important to you in your development. So I was hoping you could comment, how important was it to you to take advantage of those opportunities to play with more established
mm,
local professional musicians? And how did you even get to that point? Because at some point, you had to take that step and be fearless and say, I'm going to stand up and play with somebody. So when did that start for you?
yeah. Um, I think it started for me in definitely when I was in high school. When I started playing saxophone, um, I I went to the Black Heritage Festival, which is another festival in Tampa area, at Curtis Hickson Park, where I saw Eric Darius and B.K. Jackson, who are great jazz artists. I got to meet them, and from meeting them, I realized they're just normal people, just like us. They're Yes, they are great musicians, and I always will admire them for that. But they are normal people who do want to share what they have with others in the younger generation. And I kind of picked up on that, and I was like, okay, I want to do something like that. How do I do it? So, I took, like you said, Steve, I took advantage of kind of any opportunity that came my way, whether I thought it was going to end up how I wanted or not. I took a gig playing with Gloria West and the Gents, which is a band that's been in Clearwater Jazz many times that I've been able to play with, which is like kind of like a swing style band that maybe that wasn't my exact future of music, but I learned so much playing with that group. I was able to to meet great players in the area who have joined that group, and that opened up the can for me. Doing that every Wednesday at the living room in Dunedin was super fun. I got in touch with um, the Reese brothers. I went to I think it was like a Blast Friday event down in Clearwater where they were playing outside the Capitol Theater, and I was like, "Hey, I like what you guys are doing. Like, I'm a saxophone player." Turns out they needed a sax player, or they wanted one, so I was able to connect that way with them, which inevitably led me to the main stage of Clearwater Jazz Holiday with them one year, which was super fun. Um, and then after that, with the after parties and stuff like that, I think about those as very important opportunities, because Clearwater Jazz and other festivals bring in these artists, and they bring them to these after parties, and it's just like, this is a combination of people that probably won't exist in the future ever again. So I'm like, wow, look, it's Mindy Abear along with the bass player in town, along with my friend on drums. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And so like, I was like, okay, let's make something out of this. I want to be part of this. And so I maybe, yeah, sometimes I'm a little scared about like, oh, what's going to happen. But I when I get on the stage in a situation like that, it almost like all goes away. I'm just about at that point, like something clicks in my brain that just is like, have fun, like just have fun, play with the musicians, just share, my playing, and listen to these other players on stage. All of that stuff is like kind of makes it for me. And then usually like when I do that and I really put the foot forward to go for that opportunity, I feel really good after, no matter if it turned out well or not. I feel like something that I notice about me is like, if there's an opportunity available and I don't take it, I feel way worse than if I took it and screwed up. It's true. It happens to me all the time, and I still am working on it. But if I miss out on an opportunity because like I'm too scared or something, it actually turns out worse. So I convince myself, hey, take the opportunity, do it. So what if you mess up? It's okay. Everybody messes up. Yeah. So like it's that's kind of some of my thoughts on that, Steve, and just going for it. I totally think everybody should take advantage of every opportunity that comes their way.
No, that's great, Kyle. We're recording these sessions during a really challenging time with the pandemic, so it's really hard because a lot of those congregated performance opportunities aren't happening right now, but they
Yeah.
will, and they will
Yeah.
again. And so, think back to when you were first, um, seeking out those opportunities as a high school player.
Yeah.
How do you go about doing that? Where do you find the music? How do you put yourself out there? How do you introduce yourself to people? Where can you go? What can a musician now in high school be thinking about?
I would say right now, because of the issues that we're kind of going through, you know, use social media. I know it's like kind of tough to go on there these days. There's so much going on, so much depressing stuff, but use social media to your advantage. Like, find players around your area, find friends of friends. If you like, for example, like the college thing, like if you have a friend of a friend who studies jazz or goes to this college, connect with them. Like get your friend to introduce you to them, and at that point, like, you can just start building, um really honest personal connection with other people, which I feel like is very important. Um, and so, yeah, right now I would say, use social media to your advantage. Um, Reach out to people online and just be like, hey, I like what you're doing. I would love to know this from you. Um, I think a lot of professionals right now who, we used to look at, I mean, we still do. We look at them as the highest of the high, the guys who are on tour, the guys who are doing the cool things that we want to do one day. Um, they're in the same boat as all of us. They are at home right now with their families. They are bored sometimes right now, at home. So like the other day I reached out to probably one of my favorite saxophone players in the whole world. Definitely one of my top three, Andy Snitzer, who's from Philadelphia, who played with Paul Simon, Michael Brecker, um, played with Chris Bodie, Billy Joel, everything. He's like my favorite. And I reached out to him and was like, hey, Andy, hope you're doing well. I would love to learn, this from you. He's like, we'll totally have that talk sometime, man. Like, we're going to have it. So I'm like, sweet. I get to learn something from this guy that he would have been, right now he'd be on tour, and not have time for anything. Instead, he's home and I'm able to pick his brain a little bit. So do that, kind of until like the local music starts getting back. When the local music starts getting back, definitely try and go out and hear the guys in your town and kind of be a part of the hang and introduce yourself and just share what you have. There's many jam sessions in our town, like the hangar thing that's not happening right now. Ruby's where you can meet a lot of cool guys. So definitely do that, as well as, work on your playing at the same time and work on writing songs, all that stuff. I think all that stuff is going to be helpful in the long run.
Kyle, we can't tell you how much we appreciate you being part of these virtual sessions. You did such a great job, and
Oh, thanks.
thanks for putting so much thought into sharing your experience. We hope you might come back and join
Yeah,
us for these sessions. We're excited for you and your future with music. You're just such a bright light, and we wish the best for you, and are so happy that you were with us. You can check out a lot of great upcoming sessions on Clearwater Jazz's education and outreach page. The studio link will take you to all these archived sessions that have materials, and they have links to session recaps, and soon all of the full recordings will be up there. We're also launching a podcast soon that will have all the audio only version of these sessions on multiple platforms, which will be a great way of accessing the information as well. So we hope that you participating today will come back with us. Thanks for being with us.
yeah.
Kyle, thank you again so much, man.
Man, thank you guys so much for hanging out, and I hope you guys learned even just a little thing. And it's great to see you, Derek and Ben, and yeah, it's looking forward to your guys' future and the future of the Jazz Holiday and all of this music coming back.
Yeah. All right. All right, everybody. Stay
All
safe out
right,
there. Be well and keep playing. We'll see you soon.
see you guys.